I just tell the truth, and telling the truth is crazy in a world full of lies. If you mix brilliance with bravery, that we can ignite something. Even this conversation alone can ignite the people.
The time is now to express and for people to believe in themselves. The time is now for it to be okay to be great. People in this world shun people for being great, for being a bright color, for standing out. But the time is now to be okay to be the greatest you.
Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl Kelly. We are back with another video. If you are new to the channel, guys, and you enjoy true crime stories, news, and politics, we get into commentary and we tell these stories every day on the channel. Well, most every day. A lot of times, you know, we're here fairly often. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, guys. I would really appreciate it. And if you're a returning listener and or a subscriber, thank you as always for being a friend, guys. Please interact with the video. Like it if you like it. Comment on it. Let me know what you think about the topic we're talking about today. You know, hit the bell. Whatever you can do, it really does help me out, and I thank you so much, guys. So today we're going to be talking about the case and the trial that just happened for Ynw Melly, guys. Have y'all heard about this? I know I'm very late to this party. And it's not even really a party at all. It's a double homicide. So, but I know I'm late. You know, they went through this whole entire process, and I was seeing the videos online. You know, I didn't really know who this person was. Not into the music of this new generation, so hadn't really listened to his songs. Didn't really, you know, have an interest in like delving too far into it. But once I did, well, I'm here to tell you. I got sucked in. So, like I said, this just recently ended up going to trial, and spoiler alert, there was a mistrial, so they're going to have to do this whole entire thing over again. So I will definitely be watching the second time around, but I wanted to come in here and break down what exactly happened, the case, some of the footage from trial, and this was a very interesting case, come to find out, because you have a lot here. You have gang activity, you have you know, a double homicide between a group of lifelong friends, you have a rapper like who was relatively somewhat famous for being, you know, a newcomer. So we're gonna get into all of it, guys, and I want to start off with the music video that caused a lot of speculation and caused this case to kind of be sensationalized, and you'll see why in a second.
I'm in the Barnes house over 2 more shots.
Or 1117.
Hey, I'm in the studio, bro. Oh, no, you ain't call me, bro. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I'm at the studio. Hold up, though. I ain't get to roll no weed. I ain't get to roll no sweat.
And so at the very beginning there, he was saying, you know, I'm at the studio, blah, blah, blah. And the song's called Murder on My Mind. And this is interesting to me because, you know, never underestimate the power of the tongue and the way that you can speak things into existence, because later it kind of comes to fruition, because he was caught up in this double homicide, leaving the studio one night when this all transpired. So yeah, you might want to watch what you say in the regards that what you say might one day become a true life event.
I was locked up on Christmas. Ain't get to see my niggas. Ain't get to hug my mama. Couldn't even give her no kisses. Can't even post on my Instagram. Could he pussy nigga be snitching? Everybody acting suspicious. Might probably say that I'm tripping when I'm all alone in my jail cell.
What the fuck is going on? It's just no, you know, and it's also it's the devil worshipping like symbols for me, like the snake. We got like the candles, the writing on the wall. It's giving demonic. Okay, and I don't know what was hanging from the ceiling. It looks like chickens, dead chickens. I mean, it's very satanic right off the bat. And I don't know what he's doing. He's about to copulate with the snake. I'm not sure. It's very bizarre.
Tell I tend to get in my feelings, and all I smoke is that loud. Don't pass me no midget, and I'ma smoke all of my pain away, cause that's the only thing that gon' heal it. I don't understand you women who go around pretending as if they really fuck with me, so I love them all from a distance. Cause the same bitch said she down to ride, be a main one who trickin'. Got my limits with promethazine, cause every time I wake up in the morning, I got murder on my mind. AK-47s, Mac 11s, Glocks and 9s, and all these pussy niggas hatin' trying to knock me off my grind. But I can't let them do it, I got murder on my mind, bitch, I got murder on my mind. Bitch, I got murder on my mind. I got murder on my mind. I got murder on my mind. I got murder.
So now we gotta go.
I got murder on my mind. I got murder on my mind. Yellow tape around his body, it's a fucking homicide. His face is on the t-shirt and his family.
Was he just doing chest compressions? What's going on? What is going on? I don't mean to laugh because obviously this is, this is fiction. This is fan fiction or whatever. This was supposed to be what some might call art. I would call it just a weird satanic ritual. But like, what is going on? What is going on with the music of today? And they got these little young kids here acting in this video, and then you saw at the beginning they put handcuffs on them. So I guess what were the children killed them? Like what? I don't like this at all. First of all, if this man had never come to be like accused of double homicide later after making this music video, I still would hate this. I would probably hate it even more because it would be like, oh, all these rappers know how to do is flex and shit like that, but like, this man right here apparently meant business, or so they say. I don't know. We're going to look at the evidence and see, and I don't want you guys to prejudge him. Obviously he's innocent until proven guilty, and the facts are a little bit, but I don't know. Y'all decide for yourself once we go through the evidence. But this music video right here, and this whole symbology of like killing someone in your music video and saying you have murder on your mind because people are snitching, and it's just like, what's going on with culture, popular culture, black culture, whatever. Like, this is really what y'all want to do? You want to kill people for talking to police, or what? Just how about stop breaking the law, maybe.
Stop breaking the law, asshole!
Traumatized, I didn't even mean to shoot him. He just caught me by surprise. I reloaded my pistol, cocked it back and shot him twice. His body dropped down to the floor and he had teardrops in his eyes. He grabbed me by my hands and said he was afraid to die. I told him it's too late, my friend, it's time to say goodbye. And he died inside my arms, blood all on my shirt. Wake up in the morning, I got murder on my mind. AK-47s, Mac 11s, Glocks and 9s, and all these pussy niggas hating, trying to knock me off my mind. But I can't let them do it, I got murder on my mind, bitch, I got murder on my mind. 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 Like a tarantula, bitch, I'm an animal. Melly's a savage, no, he not no amateur. Vegas ain't entry, but fuck on camera. Bitch, I'm a murderer. I might just kill him, but don't wanna kill him. But make him up say he won't beef, we gon' grill the boy. I'm beating so good, I might dip his ass and make him spill the boy. Murder on my mind.
So now we're gonna bring the nuns into it with a baby. What is it? What is this? This is sick. I've only seen like parts of this video. This is my whole time watching it in full. I mean, this is truly disturbing.
I got murder on my mind.
What is this dress? What is this garb you have on, sir? Can you please pick a lane? Are you a cross-dressing, twink, or are you a hardcore gangster murderous OG, triple OG? I would like for you to pick a lane.
I got murder on my mind. I got murder on my mind.
Oh my God.
Wake up in the morning, I got murder on my mind. AK-47s, Mac 11s, Glocks and 9s, and all these pussy niggas hating, trying to knock me off my grind. But I can't let them do it, I got murder on my mind, bitch, I got murder on my mind.
What is going on?
I got murder on my mind.
Oh my God, not the nun with the gun.
I got murder on
God damn. am none with a gun. I mean, I've just seen it all.
My mind. I got murder on my mind. I got murder on my mind.
Why you got that? Is there somebody spill something? What floor sign? Like what? Who spilled? What's going on? Who was the creative director for this? I need to meet them. What's this? What's going on? Oh Lord, R.I.P. Yeah, okay, whatever. So that was Murder on My Mind, guys. Ynw Melly, who's now facing a double homicide charge and is looking at the potential death penalty in Florida. So, you know, like I said, guys, beware the power of the tongue. It's a real thing, okay? It's very real, and you're gonna have a fuck around and find out moment if you keep playing with that stuff, especially all of the like I said, the symbols in that video, very disturbing stuff. So okay, anyways, let's move right along. So we'll get into the opening statement of the prosecutor first, and she's gonna kind of break down their case, the evidence, which I'm not gonna lie, it's really not much. I have seen, like, there's been a ton. I mean, the whole trial was televised, so it was a long trial. They have been, you know, this crime happened I think 4 years ago or something like that. It's been a hot ass minute that they have been gathering evidence. There's been allegations of botched investigations, all kinds of stuff. There's really not that much evidence. There's witnesses that don't want to cooperate. I mean, there's plenty of that. You guys know, if you know anything about like black, you know, rap culture, you know, there's no snitching, okay? You can't snitch, especially, you know, Ynw Melly supposedly in a gang, you know, even though they say that he's not. He's a blood. He's doing all the blood, you know, hand signs and all this, like, you just, but they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to point it out. They don't want to admit to anything. So it's been a big, you know, basically gaslighting situation for the prosecution, and they've come against basically a brick wall of, you know, influence within this culture and within this group of people who are covering for each other, you know, and not really working with the police at all. So she's going to break down what evidence they do have, though, which some is pretty compelling. I mean, like I said, I want you guys to tell me what y'all think at the end, but, you know, and I'll try to reserve my opinion. It's just, I don't know. So let's get into the opening statement for the prosecution. And I want you guys to watch him. First of all, he scares me, okay? There's a lot of scary ass looking people in this trial, you know, on the side of the defense. You know, there's other witnesses that looked like absolute demons. It's just, I don't know what's going on. It's very lizard-like, okay? Him and then the other guy that I'll point out once he comes on the scene. You know, there was a masked-up cop that came with like a full-on like ski mask. Just very peculiar trial. The entire thing, top to bottom. So just watch him. You know, once the camera pans over, he is a full-blown character throughout this entire course of the trial. And I'm not talking about like Daryl Brooks style character. I'm just saying his entire persona, and the fact that he is seemingly treating this like an utter joke, not, you know, a thing that he's actually on trial and could be convicted of double homicide. He's very animated.
Ladies and gentlemen, on October 26th of 2018, this defendant shot and killed 2 of his friends. He killed Christopher Thomas and Anthony Williams. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to set out the story and how this unfolded and lay out what I expect the evidence will show during the course of this trial. First thing you're going to hear is that at 4:35 a.m. on October 26th of 2018, Cortland Henry, the co-defendant, shows up at Memorial Miramar Hospital. In his car, he has 2 dead bodies. In the front passenger seat is Anthony Williams. In the rear passenger seat is Christopher Thomas. They are dead, they are riddled with bullets, and the car is full of blood. Christopher Thomas is sitting in the rear. There is multiple defects to his body. Anthony Williams, who is sitting in the front, has 2 major injuries. Officer Jessica Amangor is working a detail at the hospital. Cortland Henry runs in, starts telling a story about a drive-by, quote-unquote drive-by. Cortland Henry, and you're going to learn a lot about Miramar geography during the course of this trial, tells a story that he and his buddies, just the two that are in the car, were at a music studio here in downtown Fort Lauderdale at 805 Northeast 4th Avenue. He's going to tell law enforcement, and you're going to hear this statement, you're going to hear the actual audio of him telling law enforcement, we were at the recording studio, we drove home, because they lived out in West Miramar. You're going to hear Cortland say that they come across in the path of travel, that they're getting off the highway on I-75 southbound to go west on Miramar Parkway. And you're going to hear that on Miramar Parkway, sometime between 160th, which is also commonly referred to as Dykes Road, and 172nd, Cortland Henry says they were shot at. That he ducked down, and you'll see him doing that in the video, and that he didn't see any car, he didn't see any people, he has no information, and that he quickly went to the nearest hospital. So you're going to learn that when you go on Miramar Parkway, and you take that right at 172, Memorial Miramar is just about 1 mile north. So the distance between most major intersections in Broward County is 1 mile. So you're going to learn that from 160th to 172nd, 1 mile. From 172nd to the next major intersection on Miramar Parkway, 184th, 1 mile. So you're going to hear and find that Mr. Henry's statement that the car is traveling westbound on Memorial Parkway, then goes north on 172nd and shows up at the hospital for the drive-by is completely and utterly false. How can I tell you that, ladies and gentlemen? Well, the detectives from Miramar at this point shut down the entire length of Miramar Parkway from 160th to 172nd. And they sit and they walk side by side for an hour, that mile-long stretch, looking for evidence of this drive-by. Because evidence is the remnants a crime leaves behind. And in this case, the lack of evidence is very important. There is a lack of any evidence whatsoever to support that a drive-by happened on Miramar Parkway. What would they look for? Shell casings, glass fragments, projectiles, tire marks. You're going to hear that there is none of that found whatsoever. So then they said, well, maybe we have the time frame wrong. Maybe we have the location wrong. So they walk an additional mile from 172 to 184th. Still nothing. No broken glass, no projectiles, no fire casings. Detectives know they have a Jeep that they are looking at the Memorial Miramar Hospital that has 16 easily identifiable bullet defects. That has a broken out rear view window and 2 broken side windows on the passenger side. Things aren't adding up. So detectives work backwards. They are then able to determine that 805 Northeast 4th address is a recording studio, and that the recording studio is equipped with cameras. And ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see footage from both inside and outside of that recording studio. You're going to learn that on the morning of the 26th at approximately 1 p.m., detectives went out to the recording studio to try and see if somebody had followed the victims, to find out how they knew where they were going to be to set up this drive-by. In the video, that is the first time detectives learned that there was actually 4 people in that gray Jeep, and that the defendant, Jamel Demons, is in the rear driver's side seat. So let me set the scene for you at the recording studio, because there's actually 8 young men there. You're going to hear they arrived at the recording studio, not much was getting done. They were tired. They left at 3:19, and they got into 2 vehicles. So first vehicle is a red Mitsubishi SUV. In that red Mitsubishi SUV, 4 individuals get into it. Travion Glass, Dontavius Withers, Jacoby Mills, and Adrian Davis. They are in the red Mitsubishi. In the gray Jeep, you have the driver, Cortland Henry, rear driver's side passenger, Jamel Demons, Anthony Williams in the front seat, and Cortland Henry, again, the driver, Christopher Thomas, in the rear. What you will find and what you will hear, ladies and gentlemen, is that this gray Jeep leaves the recording studio, goes over to I-95, takes I-95 south to 595, 595 across to I-75 south, I-75 south to Miramar Parkway. You're going to see traffic cameras from the Department of Transportation that show the cars going across 595, one after the other. In those videos,
And so I just want to say a quick word about that. The cameras, the traffic cameras, I mean, you can't get away with anything these days. And I'm not saying that, you know, I want anybody to get away with obviously a double homicide or anything of that nature, but it's just the, like, double-edged sword of living in a police surveillance state. And I've spoken on this before. I don't really like the traffic cameras being able to go back and watch people's every move. I mean, obviously in situations like this, you know, yes, it's good. They were able to use this as furtherance to, you know, disprove a certain narrative, but they really didn't actually 100% disprove it, because obviously this case ended up in a mistrial. But I don't know, the cameras, just know that like, you're being watched everywhere you go, and that's what will be kind of the theme of this entire trial, is that if it happened the way that the prosecutors are alleging that this happened, you know, that they murdered their friends and then tried to cover it up, it's like, you really have to be a non-thinking individual. And they're young, obviously they're all very young guys, but it's like, I mean, how stupid can you be? I mean, they just took absolutely no thought whatsoever before doing this and thinking like, hey, you know, just because we have a story, the police aren't going to fact check us. No, it's not like there's cameras all over the city. Absolutely not. I mean, it's just sheer stupidity.
you're not going to see them stop. And it's just a small portion of which is covered by cameras on that. But then what you're going to see is the cell phone evidence. The digital leash.
Digital
Item
leash.
that is carried around
Ain't that the
in everyone's
truth?
pocket, in everyone's car, you use on a daily basis. Because you're going to see, as Jamel Demmons leaves that recording studio, he's got his phone in his hand, and he's playing on his phone.
Oh.
You're going to see on that
Slam it.
phone information that Anthony Williams had his phone with him. And the interesting fact that's important to keep in mind is Anthony Williams, the deceased in the front passenger seat, and Jamel Demmons, who is the shooter,
Demmons.
in the rear driver's side passenger seat, have the exact same make and model of cell phone. Not only do they have the same make and model of cell phone, they are on the exact same cell phone plan. They're using the same service, the same cell towers, everything like that. So you can compare the information from those two cell phones and see how they track together. Christopher Thomas, who's the deceased in the rear passenger seat, he had his iPhone as well, and he was on the Sprint service at the time. In the other car, that red Mitsubishi, Dontavius Withers also had a Sprint service cell phone. So ladies and gentlemen, you have individuals in two cars, and all of the cell phone tracks together, going across 595, going until they get to Miramar Parkway and 184th. At 184th, the red Mitsubishi goes south, and you will then see it at 3:50 a.m. going through the guard gate at Sunset Lakes. That was the gated community in which the individuals were all living at the time of this homicide in October of 2018. On the Sunset Lakes guard video, the red Mitsubishi goes through, the gray Jeep doesn't. The gray Jeep instead goes north, and then proceeds to go to the actual scene of the homicides. The gray Jeep goes north on 184th up to Pines Boulevard. From Pines Boulevard, it travels west all the way to the edge of the Everglades, where it is desolate, where it is dark, where there are no witnesses. The gray Jeep goes down south on US 27 and turns left on Pembroke Road. You're going to learn that Pembroke Road does not connect through. That right there, Pembroke Road dead ends at a trash facility. That at that recycling facility, you're not going to see people. You're not going to see activity. There's no street lights. And at 4:02 a.m., Jamel Demmons exits that vehicle and stages that driveway. Because, ladies and gentlemen, remember, at this time, Miramar is working backwards. They're looking for communication to figure out how and why and how the location of this Jeep was known, why they would be targeted. At that point, there is no communication. You're not going to see any sort of phone calls, any sort of text messages going out, setting up any sort of meeting at the edge of the Everglades at 4 in the morning. What you are going to find is that after the surveillance footage is brought up, some of these other individuals say, oh no, we stopped. We stopped the car and Mr. Dimmons on the side of the highway got out of the gray Jeep and got into the red Mitsubishi. But ladies and gentlemen, it's important to know and look at the details, because the details don't match up. One person says, oh, it's at this location. One person says it's over here on the side of the road. Look at what the physical evidence shows, and that's what I would suggest to you as the most reliable things. So on the physical evidence, the Jeep is towed to the Miramar substation, and a search warrant is executed on it. And at that point, officers, crime scene technicians, and investigators start going through the contents of the Jeep. And all of the ballistic from the drive-by are all coming from the passenger side in towards the driver's side, and then from the rear of the vehicle forwards towards the front. The medical examiner's office is also conducting an investigation. You're going to hear testimony about the autopsies that were conducted on Anthony Williams and Christopher Thomas. And this is when the suspicion, the investigation takes a turn. Because at that point, the fatal wounds for Christopher Thomas and Anthony Williams are coming from inside the vehicle, from the rear driver's side passenger going out towards the passenger side.
Uh-oh.
The other interesting thing the medical examiner's office is going to tell you is that when the drive-by was staged at 4:02 a.m., the victims were already dead.
Yikes.
The medical examiner will be able to testify and tell you that the fatal shots to Anthony Williams, to his head, that enters in the back of his head and exits at the top, blowing out the front passenger window, was fatal. And that the additional wounds that are consistent with the trajectories going through the vehicle, he's already dead. They are post-mortem inflicted gunshot wounds. The same for Christopher Thomas. You will hear from the medical examiners, Dr. McDougall and Dr. Souter, who conducted the autopsies, that Christopher Thomas was shot in his left cheek. That was the fatal shot for him. You're also going to hear about stippling. Stippling is unburnt gunpowder.
So left cheek was a fatal shot. How does that, what? How does that happen? Did it go like up and into his brain? That doesn't make sense. Very, very interesting evidence there. And obviously, that to me is the most illogical and idiotic, piece of evidence for the defense, for their purposes, as far as trying to allege that some drive-by shooting happened. Because how did somebody do a drive-by shooting where the majority of the shots came from the side of the vehicle? And I was playing some of the crime scene photos throughout her giving her opening statements, but we'll go back and look at them more, in detail. But the bullet holes were all in the side of the vehicle, but then they're also coming from the back, as if like the back windshield was also shot out. And that just doesn't make logical sense, unless you want to say that, if they did, quote unquote, pull over on the side of the road to let Ynw Melly out, maybe this was when the drive-by shooting happened. Was it really a drive-by shooting? Was it, maybe somebody else from the red car that did this, when they pulled over? There's just so many questions, and nobody is saying anything that can be deciphered as truthful, because nobody wants to be the snitch, nobody wants to talk to the police. It's so convoluted at this point, and I think this is by design, because it's like now they may all get off and get away with this because nobody can put all the pieces together. But that doesn't make any sense. There's no drive-by that happens from the front, from the back and from the side. Normally it's quite literally as you're driving by. So how would they have gotten behind you and then gotten around on the side of you and continued shooting up the car. It's like, it doesn't pass the sniff test at all. And then, I mean, they could say that, like, I guess the reason why they would know that the fatal shots came from inside the car would be that if they had come from, even if, say that we're going with this, you know, this story of a drive-by in which the suspects shot first through the back of the vehicle and then came around to the side of the vehicle and shot up the side as well, you would still have a trajectory and an entrance and exit point for the bullets that ended up fatally wounding both victims. So even if one of, you know, they're both shot in the head, there would still be a way to determine, I guess, the trajectory of those bullets. You would think. Maybe not. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a technical forensic examiner or anything like that. So I really don't know how they can actually provably determine that, because there were so many different bullet holes that it's like, if there were bullet holes that penetrated the back of the car, how do you not say that none of those could have done it? And they have these like trajectory poles and like all of this, you know, scientific, you know, word salad mumbo jumbo that I just don't understand because it's not my field of expertise. But it does raise a little bit of doubt. I mean, it makes sense, and I get it. It looks really bad, and I am following her. I'm going along on this journey with her, but it also makes me wonder, well, how do you know it wasn't any of these other bullets? You know, like, how do you actually prove that? You know, if you're going to get so technical with it, like, and this is how a lot of these prosecutions go nowadays. They do things with cell towers. They do things with, like, DNA. You know, everything's very scientific and very technical, and it's like, okay, you know, but who's in charge of all, like, who's in charge of these processes? Who is in charge of the, you know, like, all of these things that we're pulling all of this data from? I don't know. It just gives the conspiracy person in me, it just makes me question everything. But we're still not done with the evidence, so let's continue.
That's ejected from the front of a firearm when a bullet is fired. The best way to describe that and make it easy to understand, you have a handful of sand, soot, and a golf ball. You throw it, the golf ball is going to go the furthest because it has the most weight, the most mass. The sand weighs a little bit more than the soot, so it's going to go a little bit further, but not as far as the golf ball. The ash, the soot, which has almost no weight, no mass, therefore it can't have any energy put into it, falls very quickly. So that is the same principle that comes to gunshot residue and the powder tattooing that you're going to hear about, the stippling. The bullet travels the furthest. The gunshot residue, the powder tattooing, the stippling, creates a pattern. And from that pattern, the medical examiner's office can give an approximate distance. Why can they not give an exact one? Because their firearm in this case was never recovered. Law enforcement made diligent efforts to go and dive multiple canals, search multiple areas, apartments, storage units. They were never able to find the firearm. So without the actual firearm that was used in this case, you can't accurately and reliably recreate a distance determination. Common sense, ladies and gentlemen. The things that you learned in elementary school science about conducting science experiments, they have.
I never learned about gunshot projectiles and you know, gunshot residue in my elementary school science class. I don't know where you went to school, ma'am.
Apply just as much now as they did then. You have to minimize the number of variables. That's the only way to get an accurate experiment. So if you don't know the type of gun, you can't minimize the variables to get that distance determination. So what you're also going to hear is while law enforcement is going through that Jeep, they find one spent shell casing for a .40 caliber firearm. Why is that important? That shows a gun was fired inside of that car.
Ooh.
You're going to hear that at once the location of US 27 and Pembroke Road was discovered, law enforcement goes out to that area as well.
Uh-oh.
And there they locate an additional 8 shell casings.
That same 40 ounce?
40 caliber.
Oh.
But the interesting thing about that doesn't happen on October 26th of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
This happens on November 21st, almost a month later.
What the hell are y'all waiting on?
Because that's when law enforcement gets the reliable cell phone tracking data
Sorry.
that they use to determine that's the area that they need to be searching. Because at that location is where the cell phones of Christopher Thomas, Anthony Williams, and Jamel Demmons all line up at 4:02 a.m. That point, afterwards, Mr. Demmons' phone tracks with the two victims until about 4:20. So 15 minutes before Cortland Henry takes the victims to the hospital. During those 30 minutes, you're going to hear as to where the path went.
He needs
You're
to
going
go
to hear
sit
that law
down.
enforcement then search that path again looking for trace evidence, such as firearms. They didn't find it. But you're also going to hear that Jamel Demmons, on the side of the road, made a FaceTime video chat.
Okay, and this is fascinating because, you know, this was actually never corroborated with witness testimony. You know, they actually ended up denying this and saying that this never happened. So the fact that they were able to show with, you know, whatever, cell phone towers, that he was there and he made a call there, but it can't be backed up by the person that he placed the call to, this is very sticky to me. And this is one thing that I was looking for throughout the trial to explain, because I thought this was a very compelling piece of evidence. If he had made a call, you know, and said to someone, you know, this was his ex-girlfriend apparently, that he had called there and said that they were in a drive-by shooting, and then later changed that story, that's pretty damning. That's pretty compelling evidence if that did happen. And it seems like it did, but then, you know, the witness, the person, that the lady that he called, the ex-girlfriend, ended up saying, you know, that never happened, or her mom ended up testifying to that fact, that basically this was not the story that she remembered way back when. You know, everyone had a lot of memory loss throughout this whole entire trial and throughout their testimony. You know, everyone was very unable to remember what happened. You know, granted, it was about 4 or 5 years ago, but they've all got amnesia.
At that point, he starts setting up the story. He FaceTimes his girlfriend at the time, Mariah Hamilton. Mariah Hamilton gets the phone call and screams, waking up her mother, Felicia Holmes. Felicia Holmes also sees the defendant, Jamel Demmons, on that FaceTime video call. And you're going to learn, ladies and gentlemen, that that's a data event on a cell phone. That it's not a call for the purposes of the cell phone companies. It's using data, accessing the internet. Felicia Holmes and Mariah Hamilton see Jamel Demmons outside, and he is saying he's just been involved in a drive-by, and he thinks Anthony Williams and Chris Thomas are dead. So what you're also going to find out is while Mr. Demmons is out there on the side of the road, 4 in the morning, 4:42 specifically, he sends a drop pin, digital homing beacon, to his current location.
Yikes.
To one of his friends, Frederick Gibbons.
So they also, you know, the defense basically explained this away, or tried to explain this away, by saying that this phone was not in use by Ynw Melly at the time, and that this was a phone that was shared by all of their friends, you know, blah blah blah. The prosecution has to then put up text messages and other corroborating evidence to say, you know, basically, yes, it was your phone, you're a liar, and you've lied about everything. But it's an interesting, that's why I said this case is so interesting to me, because this is like the epitome of the anti-snitching culture that you see in rap music, and with, you know, I'm just gonna say, like, ghetto, thugged out black people. And it's detrimental. It really is. It's detrimental to those communities and to black people as a whole, because it not only scares people who are in that lifestyle, who actively participate in that sort of behavior, but it scares others around that are close to those people as well, who might otherwise be able to provide testimony to get dangerous people off the streets. But you end up, you know, with this like culture of nobody wants to say anything because they're afraid of what might happen, whether it be societal, you know, ridicule within their communities. That would probably be like the least of it, or actually getting murdered themselves. It's absolutely ridiculous. So the phone thing, him dropping a pen, apparently wasn't him. You know, it's so crazy the way that this all played out with witness testimony every step of the way. Everyone was contradicting each other. The prosecution had different pieces of evidence that then were gaslit and like explained away in the most, you know, roundabout and absurd way. It was just, this is one of the like most interesting trials that I've actually watched, and one of the most compelling, because it just shows you like the juxtaposition of justice and people who are deliberately thwarting or trying to prevent justice from happening. And that is really tragic, because like I said, it doesn't hurt anybody else but the people who are in those communities and who are connected to those communities.
So what you will learn from the evidence, from the Instagram, from the private messages, was that Jamel Demons is a member of the G Shine Blood set.
Oh no.
This is not a stage
the
personality. This is not an actor that's playing a character. This was his real life.
Oh Lord.
Ladies and gentlemen, you will see that as soon as October 24th, 2 days before the homicide, Jamel Demons is learning the oath of loyalty to the G Shine Blood set.
What?
You're going to see things
I thought he was a part of it.
in these messages that will be indicative of blood membership.
Oh gosh.
For example, anytime a word would normally be spelled with a C, as in Charlie, they don't use that. They replace it with the letter B. So instead of saying, I'm at the crib, they say, I'm at the rib.
Girl, no one says that.
Why, ladies and gentlemen? Because C is associated with cribs.
I'm at the crib.
B is for bloods. So if you look through all the messages, you will notice time and time again.
And they replaced the C because C is for Crips, okay? I don't know if she said that, but I just want to let you know.
Jamel Demons is dropping C's and using B's.
You're dropping C's.
And you're going to see pictures, you're going to see videos of the defendant doing something called stacking, which is a way to show a gang affiliation and to broadcast it to the world. And this is not just in music videos. This is not just in lyrics. Because we're not going to get into that. That's artistic expression.
Oh, really?
That's not why we are here today.
That's artistic expression?
We are here because the defendant murdered 2 individuals.
So she's basically saying that that video we watched at the beginning was not going to be brought in as evidence. I would beg to differ. I mean, I don't know. It just seemed like a whole lot of you know, doing what you talk about you're doing. You know, you talking about it and being about it type of shit. I mean, it just seemed very bizarre to have a song called Murder on My Mind in which you're, you know, portraying yourself killing people, and then you go and get accused of killing people. And that's just, it's artistic expression, guys. I mean, it's literally like Picasso.
So in summary, the last thing I want to tell you that the evidence would show
Okay, tell me.
is that in the Instagram, because the defendant had a moderate social media following at the time of these events, people are reaching out to him. Some fans, some friends, some associates. You'll see on October 26th, after about 8 a.m. in the morning, Eastern time, multiple messages are coming in. Messages are coming in from individuals checking to see if he's okay, if he's been injured in this drive-by. If it's true that Anthony Williams, who's also sometimes referred to as Sack, and Chris Thomas, who is referred to as Judy, are really dead. One individual, and specifically, sends out, and I want to quote the message exactly that you will hear,
Tell us.
and says, right after this, yo homie, you good? Let me know something. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is where context matters. What does that mean? If you work at Google and you say, my whole floor is coded, that's a good thing. If you work at Broward General Hospital and you say, my whole floor is coding, that is a bad thing. If you work at Homicide, and you say, my whole floor is coding, that's a good thing. If you work at Homicide, and you say, my whole floor is coding, that is a bad thing. If you work at Broward General Hospital and you say, my whole floor is coding, that is a bad thing. If you work at Homicide, and you say, my whole floor is coding, that is a bad thing. If you work at Broward General Hospital and you say, my whole floor is coding, that is a bad thing. If you work at Homicide, and you say, my whole floor is coding, that is a bad thing. If you work at Broward General Hospital and you say, my whole floor is coding, that is a bad thing. If you work at Homicide, and you say, my whole floor is coding, that is a bad thing. If you work at Broward General Hospital and you say, my whole floor is coding, that is a bad thing. If you work at Broward General Hospi the context around the messages matters.
What?
So in the context of this message, this individual is reaching out, asking if Mr. Demmons is good, after he's been tagged in multiple social media posts about this drive-through.
Drive-through?
Shooting.
Drive-through.
And Mr. Demmons responds very succinctly, I did that. Shh.
Hello?
Ladies and gentlemen, at the conclusion of the evidence,
Hello?
the state is confident that you will find the defendant guilty as charged of the first
Not I
degree
did
murder
that.
of Christopher Thomas.
No way. Did he really say? Look at his face. Just look at his face. I mean, he's something else. You know, his hair, I just can't. What? So, I did that. Shh. Okay, girl, whatever. So, anyways, let's get into some of the other testimony, some of the witnesses, and some of these moments from this trial. So I'm going to get into some of the witness testimony, and then we'll come back for a part 2 on this, because it is a lot, and I don't want to leave anything out, because like I said, this is super interesting, and I did like a whole series on the Darrell Brooks trial. I mean, granted, that was a lot. You know, this was actual lawyers were arguing these cases, so it wasn't like we had this lizard boy here with his hair arguing for himself. But there were still a lot of interesting moments, a lot of testimony, a lot of evidence came forward that was just so, it seemed like it was a slam dunk, and then the defense came along and would put all this doubt up into the air, have these like crazy stories, arguments, but they were good legal arguments. You know, the defense was doing their job, but it's just a lot. So we'll do a part 2, but let's get into some of these things first, and then we'll come back and we'll crank out the rest of it. So I'm not going to play the defense's opening statement because I didn't think that theirs was as strong. So basically, I'll sum it up for you guys. The defense came out and basically just said that they can't prove that Ynw Melly was actually at the site of the shooting. He didn't do it. You know, they tried to point the finger at Cortland, who was Ynw Bortland, one of his best friends. Tried to point the finger at numerous other people. They made the argument that the investigators didn't do a proper job. They were narrow-sighted when it came to this case because they were from a very early point focused mainly on Ynw Melly, and that is true. You know, granted, I will give them that, but a lot of times when the detectives feel like they have their suspect, you know, they're not really going to go down too many other avenues. But this is an issue, in my opinion, because then you come across, if these things end up going to trial and you're not able to prove it definitively, you get yourself in a pickle. So here is the surveillance footage of them leaving the recording studio. And so that's Cortland, I think, right there. This is one of the deceased guys. And then Melly and the other victim are fixing to come out, I think. So I think that's Melly right there. Or maybe not. I don't know. They all kind of look alike. I'm just saying. Okay, so that's Melly, I think. Yeah, that is Melly.
Yes, all right.
This guy does look a whole lot like him, though. Hello? If that freaking deputy doesn't get the hell out of the way, his damn head is in every freaking shot. Oh my god, look at this hair. For the love. If you don't get your ass out the way. Jeez Louise. They're doing their little blood gang hand signals there. Okay, so that is the surveillance footage, which very clearly showed, you know, 4 people getting into that gray car, and you can argue, I guess, you know, who was who. There's other ways that you can tell, though. I mean, it's very easy to go back and look at other surveillance footage from other angles, but that was that. So let's look at some of these text messages, and then we'll probably go ahead and wrap this video up, and then I will come back shortly with the second part of this, and we'll get into some other witness testimonies and some other, you know, not so great witness testimonies, just some very combative witnesses. And then I want to show you guys the behavior from this gentleman while he was in court. You can see some of the facial expressions, and we're just going to look at a few other things. So there was a lot of moments, okay, that I wanted to share with y'all. So let's get into these text messages, and then we'll hop on out of this video to be continued.
He then asks his mother to buy him a Glock ASAP, and telling her, like, go now. So she then responds, okay, what's wrong?
So 10/26, is that what that says? Is that what the date is? It's really hard to see. Or is that 10/28?
The jury in Ynw Melly's murder trial has seen a lot over the last few days about what was going on with Melly before and after the murder of 2 of his friends. The state says the phone labeled Young Sack Chaser belonged to Melly. The defense has questioned whether Melly always had possession of that phone. Melly, whose legal name is Jamel Demons, faces 2 counts of first-degree murder for the October 2018 shooting deaths of his 2 lifelong friends, YNW members Chris Thomas Jr. and Anthony Williams. They went by YNW Juvie and YNW Sack Chaser. A co-conspirator, Cortland Henry, will be tried separately. Melly faces
First of all, the name, it's ever since I started following this and really getting, you know, really diving in, YNW Sack Chaser, like, I just, rest in peace to him. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but like, it just, that name, it takes me out every single time. And I get, some of these names are like a little bit, you know, you could argue what the hell's going through any of their minds, but Sack Chaser, when I say it, it's giving me like you're chasing after a ball sack. Like, it's not like, you know, I get, yes, he's trying to portray like he gets money, you know, he's chasing the bag, you know, he gets to the bag, he chases it, you know, but, and so I understand what he was trying to do, but it's coming across, when I hear Sack Chaser, I'm thinking of your sack between your legs, your nut sack, okay, not like a sack of money. Is that just me, or do you guys, y'all get that? Like, am I crazy? I don't know. It just makes me laugh.
Possibility of the death penalty if convicted.
And rest in peace to Sack Chaser.
Jamie King is sending a text message to her son. Send me your location. I'm in Stewart. I love you.
Is that says 10/26? Okay, so at 5:27, what is that, PM? What? So when? So is this before? Like, shortly before? Shortly, or this might have been same day, later on in that day? Because I think it happened like early morning of 10/26. So if this was 5:27 at night, then I guess this was after, you know, like much later on that day.
So much. He then sends a return the location showing at or about the time of the crime as to who was using and doing that. Okay, love you again from Jamie King. I'm at your gate. I'm going to get the trash. The next response is bring Mariah, which you honored already heard testimony that Felicia Holmes, her daughter, Mariah Hamilton, was in a dating relationship with this defendant, and that at this time, and that there was conversations, and that she has identified Mariah as Mariah Hamilton. Then there is okay. It continues. He then asks his mother to buy him a Glock ASAP, and telling her, like, go now. So she then responds, okay, what's wrong? She says, I got your 45. Then his response, I just don't want no illegal gun. Well, that's not illegal.
Okay, Bobby. So what I find so interesting about this, there are a couple of things going on here. First, the defense has tried to argue in this case that, oh, this, you know, we don't know if this is Melly's phone. This is not Melly's phone. Well, clearly he's talking to his mother, talking about bringing his girlfriend Mariah to him, and he's asking his mother to purchase him a gun after the homicides, right after the homicides occurred. So the state, I think, is trying to say here, look, this is somebody who's looking for a gun right after the homicides when he tried to purchase a gun before the homicides as well. The murder weapon has never been located. So do you see where the state's going with this?
Sure. Well, first of all, earlier in testimony, you had literally screenshots from some of the FaceTime, videos of you can see the person holding the phone and you can see it's him, so the defendant. And so it literally put the phone in this defendant's hand. So it's harder for them now to say that's not his phone when you've got like one of the.
I mean, it's still, you can say that all you want, but if it was in Sack Chaser's name and you know, they're alleging that they were sharing this phone or that each one of them was using this phone. It might have even been like a trap phone or whatever you want to say, like a business phone. They were all supposedly doing music together. I mean, there's so many different nuances about that. And so I do agree that it seems like it was his phone. I get it. I'm not an idiot, you know, but I'm just saying from a defense point of view and from a raising reasonable doubt point of view, I think you need a little bit more than that. And from a defense perspective, you could argue that, well, if he was asking his mom to purchase him a gun after the shooting occurred, you could argue he was scared for his life. He never had it. If he had a gun and he had shot his friends, then he wouldn't need to ask his mom to buy him a gun. You know, that also raises some reasonable doubt there.
States in North Carolina.
North Carolina, Jesus. I'll get it together. Young Sack Chaser, I can't.
And then the response from the 5054 bang number.
It says, "Oh, hi, I'm about to head to Gotti's concert at SQL. I was just checking in on you, blood."
Okay. On page 17, October 14th of 2018. Can you read that one and explain what it's?
This, I guess, was labeled in. I'm assuming the person that he's talking to here is Frito Bang, which was the person's house. He's another rapper, whatever, very low level. Probably you guys don't know who he is. Anyways, so I think he's talking to Frito Bang, but I think these are screenshots from Frito Bang's phone where he has this number that they're trying to attribute specifically to Ynw Melly and Ynw Melly alone. And he's got this phone number listed in his phone, the contact young Sack Chaser Howard. You know, Sack Chaser, just saying. So, I mean, that right there is also very, you know, raises eyebrows, because it's like, okay, well, why would he have him labeled as that if they weren't actually at some point sharing this phone or passing this phone around, or this wasn't, you know, at one point, you know, the chaser, Sack, you know, Sack's phone, whatever, I don't know.
Meaning?
9807 number asks.
Because how are you going to argue that this is from Ynw Melly asking to purchase a gun when it's from somebody, you know, with the name that we just talked about?
You know someone selling a glizzy? Glizzy is a slang term for a Glock.
Oh my god.
Then continuing on to the next page on page 18. What is the 9807 asking at, again, October 14th, 2018?
He asks, without putting a question mark, but any gun, basically saying I'll take any gun.
Okay, 20.
3220 Southwest 192nd Avenue, Miramar, Florida, 33029. I'm on my way right now, buddy.
I'm going down to the 9807 messages on October 26, 2018.
Where the hell is Frito Bang in all this? That's another question. I don't think I got the answer to that. I'm going to have to look into that and update you guys in the next video, because where the hell is he? Is he not an accessory to murder? Okay, what's going on there? Did he not pick up this suspect, supposedly, that you guys are alleging after the supposed double homicide? What's going on? Because I know Cortland is the only other defendant, I think, right now on trial. I don't know. Where's Frito Bang?
44611 and 44619. What does the 9807 number say at that point?
This one?
Yes.
Alright, bro. Ain't nobody picking up.
And then the next one?
Shit crazy. AF as fuck. Right now. Blood. What the fuck?
Okay. And in response to that, what does the number identified as Bang 5054 say?
Bang responds, I'm on my way. Blood, I got you.
Okay. And in terms of the locations or anything like that. You did not analyze any of that data.
No.
Okay. Going on to October 27th of 2018, 3:22 a.m. What does that say?
You good, bud?
And that's coming from which individual?
Frank Ben.
Okay. The 9807 phone number at this point says on October 27th, 2018, 3:25 a.m. A response?
Hell yeah. Appreciate everything, bud.
The other thing is that, like, why would this dude, why, I don't understand why Cortland would cover for him. Why would you put yourself in that situation? That is, like, sounds like the worst idea I've ever heard in my life. To allow, like, to, even if y'all went in on this together, to take out these two guys that y'all were supposedly lifelong friends with, why would you cover for this man and allow him to leave the scene of the crime and act like he was never there and put it all on you? It makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, that just does not check out. I don't care, like, what he could have possibly promised you. And granted, this man did have, you know, fame, and, you know, he had a little bit of clout or whatever at the time. And so maybe that was the intoxicating part of it that would allow yourself to get wrapped up in doing that. But it just seems so beyond the scope of idiotic.
Defendant's over here. He got out of that car somehow at some point after the homicides, and he had somebody else pick him up. That's why he's not at the emergency room. That's why there's only 3 people out of the 4 that the government alleges was in that car.
Why you would be that third? Why would you ever?
Some of the shots may have come from inside.
Oh, what the fork? Why would you want to be the third person with 2 dead bodies in the car that you're driving? Why would you agree to that? Please tell me.
And why was the driver who ran into the emergency room totally unscathed, and the other 2 were all shot up, and somehow he escaped without any injury, without a scratch on him? And when he's in a car with his hail of bullets supposedly coming at them from the outside from this alleged drive-by and killing the other 2 people in the car, but he's in that same car totally unscathed. So, I mean, it's telling the story, and this particular exchange explains why Melly, the defendant, is the 4th person in that car, is not in the car, I think, when they get to the emergency room and the 2 people, the 2 victims die at the hospital, and why there are only 3 people. You know, here's where he is. They're explaining to the jury. He got out of that car, and he made a phone call to have someone come in. There's a message from, again, the Gino to the 9807 phone number. If you could read that message aloud.
Are you a Ruru? I was thinking you should drop a few chains and give them to the gang. That'll show people who you connected with. It's not mandatory, just a thought.
Okay. The response?
Not everybody, of course.
Is there a, like, dues or tithing that's required as for membership in a criminal gang?
Girl, tithing? Hello, we're not in church.
Yeah, as described in the oath and many times throughout the Bible, it's not about the individual, it's about the collective. The mirror.
You're in the position to be a young Don. It's all on you. Oh, wow. Well, in that case, let me go do a double homicide.
The mere fact that he wasn't even communicating with Gino and with his lineup enough, that was enough for them to say, you're not doing enough for us. And now, a step further, we need to be brought to these shows, and you should buy us some jewelry, because that jewelry's not cheap. Okay, so then the next message from December 12th says you're in the position to be a young Don. What is a young Don? Higher up, captain. Okay. Is that one of the ranks? They didn't reference that name as in the Bible as what they call their ranks, so it's just like a term related to the mafia, Don. Okay. And the response from the 9807 phone number is? Let's do it. Okay.
Okay, so basically Melly's on board, according to the state.
I mean, I wish my friend would suggest for me to buy them a damn gold chain, you know, just to do it, you know. But not everybody. Yeah, I think I'll be exiting now. Thanks for the thought of yourself with my money, but I'm good.
Don in caps. I mean, you know, we all know from the old Godfather, the Italian mafia, Don Corleone. Marlon Brando was Don Corleone. Don is a term that the Italian mafia started as one of the kind of a boss kind of figure, but has now made it to kind of popular culture. And Don is something. So you can be a young Don. I mean, you can be a young leader in this group if you behave this way. So he's actually being groomed. He's actually being taught how to ascend himself, how to conduct himself, and how to...
That doesn't look like somebody who's being groomed, okay.
...raise his profile within the gang. That's what all that's about. You can be a young Don, drop some chains, you know, and so he's being kind of tutored in how to, you know, because he's got this rap group going and he's got some notoriety. He can be a young Don in this group if he behaves as this person is guiding him along to behave.
I was going to say, using the term Don, that's really getting into your language there with the New York Mafia type stuff, you know, because it makes me think of, like, John Gotti and, you know, the Gambino crime family, the Godfather, everything you're saying. And these are all, you know, whether it's the mafia or so-called, you know, gangs, they're all kind of the same thing. You know, just different cultural aspects of it is what goes on. It's all organized crime. All right, let's take a look at this next clip. This is Melly showing gang signs, according to the prosecution.
What are you looking at here?
And you can see right here, his fingers form the word blood. B-L-O-O-D. Okay, so yeah.
That's a really commonly used blood hand sign, spell out blood, B-L-O-O-D, using both hands.
Okay guys, so I think we'll go ahead and wrap this video up right here. Hopefully I'll be able to, you know, get this done in 2, but please stick around guys, because like I said, it only gets better, and I really think that you'll enjoy, you know, all of the testimony. This whole entire case is, it's fascinating to me, in my opinion. So if you guys agree, if you liked everything that was shown today, if you enjoyed the commentary, if you enjoyed the hearing about this trial and about this case, please give the video a like guys, and comment if you would. I would very much love to hear your thoughts on everything, and let me know what y'all think in regards to guilt, and whether or not at this point, from what we've seen, do y'all think he's guilty. And I know I'm sure a lot of you will say yes, it's pretty damn obvious, but again, we have to look at things in terms of the state does have the burden of proof, and I think that in order to maintain our system of justice that we have, that is very much so revered, and I think it ultimately is good, because we cannot just go around locking people up without ultimate proof, you know, taking away their freedoms. That's not something that I condone. So I do think, and I agree with the burden of proof on the state being as high as possible. And so just because something looks really bad and somebody could be super unlikable, can look guilty as sin, but if you don't have evidence to prove it, and if you don't have the facts aligned to where it is without a reasonable doubt, then that's just not the way that our justice system works. You know, you cannot put someone away without all of those things in place. So just keep that in mind, because there are plenty of cases where everyone thought, like Alex Murdaugh is a really good example of this, because I thought for sure he was going to be acquitted. I still to this day don't feel like they had sufficient evidence to prove the case that they were putting forward. You know, it just, there's still so many things that I feel like did not line up. And you could think that he was guilty as all get out, you know, and I do think that he might have had something to do with it, but I don't feel like they proved their case without, you know, any clear 100% guarantee. I thought there was reasonable doubt in that case, and from what I see right now in this case for Ynw Melly, there is reasonable doubt just from what I've seen so far. But we're gonna look at more, guys, so stick around, like the video, comment, subscribe, do all of that, and I really appreciate y'all. Until next time, I will see y'all later, guys. Bye.
I just tell the truth, and telling the truth is crazy in a world full of lies. If you mix brilliance with bravery, that we can ignite something. Even this conversation alone can ignite the people.
The time is now to express and for people to believe in themselves. The time is now for it to be okay to be great. People in this world shun people for being great, for being a bright color, for standing out. But the time is now to be okay to be the greatest you.